Good evening to all of you and wishing you a pleasant day, and we'd like to wish you on behalf of the People's Code team, and that I also like to welcome you to say Mingalaba as a, to wish you auspiciousness. It doesn't make sense in these days and time, but we are hoping for the best from the wars, and that from the People's Code team, we like to wish you auspiciousness. So as a good way to welcome all of you to our talk show. So People's Go Way of Thought program. We are every Sunday at 7 p.m. We have a talk show, and today as well that we will be starting our discussion that very soon, as we have announced. And today's talk this week, our topic is looking at the revolution and the role of leadership in Myanmar. That in Myanmar, we have gone through many forms of dictatorship, many forms of discrimination, and there have been different ways that the people have been governed by the use of weapons and force. And then what we are hoping for is to finish with all that and to be able to establish a genuine federal democracy nation where all the people can have enjoyed their rights and the protection, and that ethnic revolution organizations, NUG, and the democratic forces are all fighting together across the country, and the revolution also is getting stronger, gaining momentum, and this is something all of us know as well, that it is also important that we can eradicate the dictatorship that is oppressing the people. It is also important to build that democratic alliance and the military alliance. We need also a clear leadership structure that will also help lead the movement as well. That it is important for all the countries going through revolution, and the same goes for Myanmar as well. And that so we have to know, are we satisfied with the role of the leadership in the revolution, and that what are the strengths and what are the weaknesses of the collective leadership, and what are the differences between the civilian and civilian and military leadership. We'll be discussing and exploring various aspects of leadership in today's session. Here we have speakers. First, I would like to introduce you to the speakers who are joining us here. The first person I would like to introduce you to is Hnin. Hnin is from DPNS, Democratic Party for a New Society. And we have Thitsar, a CDM military officer. And we have Kodiyu from General Strike Committee, and Htoi from Generation Wave. As moderator, my name is Htoi, and I'll be facilitating today's discussion. Now, to start the discussion, I have some questions for our speakers. Firstly, I would like to ask Siama Hmway. Siama, my opening question to you is, how do you define leadership? And how do you view leadership as an important role, especially in this time of the revolution? How important is the leadership? Thank you. Thank you also for this opportunity to participate in the discussion. And first of all, I would like to thank organizers for inviting me. That, in my opinion, leadership is important. The leadership can have many aspects. It can also play many different roles as well. Here, what I would like to focus on is the political leadership. The political leadership is either for that to get the public support or during the revolution, and that it is important to do that leadership. That what we are doing is that when that people will not recognize the leadership, that is through the use of weapons, and that is something also we have seen as well. That political leadership has an important role. If you look at the importance of political leadership, then the essence is that to ensure to protect the rights of the leadership as well. At the same time, it is also important that to protect also the people from the danger of those who want to who wants to destroy that as well. As we know that when we say that leadership can be in different ways as well. There are different forms of leadership. Some of those leaders who go to the front and then lead as well. There are also leaders who are who work who stay in the behind and support it. So there are also those who help by who providing the assistance, and then from the behind when there are issues, and then there are those who show up in the crisis as well. Although those may be the leaders who are supporting in the behind the curtain, so to speak, but they are also play important form of leadership by their courage to show up and to do what is also necessary. So there are many forms, many kind of people who are acting in such way to provide assistance as well. And these are the important leaders in this revolution, that they may be playing in different roles, but they are participating and contribute to the dialogue. They are all important leaders, and we also need to recognize them. What is important is what it doesn't matter what kind of leadership they are or what role do they play, but the politics of the country, the crisis in the country is it concerns all of us. So the role of our leaders also be important. The leaders in that front line cannot make a mistake, because the mistake they make, a small mistake they make, can have a further implication. So it is important for our leaders to be more prudent, and then to take precautions. That I can also give you a lot of example back in the Myanmar history, where the small mistake or mishap of a leader can lead to further major implication as well. That in Myanmar, since Myanmar gained independence, that people of Myanmar often have military have abused their power and the mandate, and they try to control the country, and they try to interfere in the politics, and they try to even form military government. That we have seen also the quasi civilian governments, and this form of leadership is that they are not genuine, they don't have good work, so that they don't get support from the people. There are always opposition, and they always oppress the opposition and the people into the control as well. So we have seen the oppression by that oppression and the use of weapons to persecute the people, and that also have make the people learn the lesson that we need armed resistance to fight against the military. And that is the problem of we have to defend ourselves, or we have to fight ourselves to get what we want. Is the biggest lesson we have learned as well. And these are the important parts of the leadership that we need to take into account. Siama Society, are you still here? Siama?
Okay,
Our moderator has some internet connection issue, so we will continue our discussion. And I would like to invite a next speaker. So I'd like to invite Komodui. So we have so Nini has also from DPNS has also discussed about what is the leadership and how important the leadership is in terms of revolution. And I'm sure Komodo recall that there was a very popular saying at the beginning of revolution that people used to say that every train have a locomotive, every wagon has an engine, and that is it still effective in price? Is it still true? Quality leadership is important to be stronger during the building of a nation. But however, when during the difficult conditions like the revolution, that what kind of situation is necessary? Well, I am not an expert on the that as well. That however, that so what I would like to say, what I would like to see discussion in the leadership is that so leaders that that there is there can be leadership can be in different ways. Leadership can vary as well. That what I'm saying is like there is ideological leadership, there is also the ethical leadership, there is also the policy or that policy making kind of leadership, and or there can also be strategic leadership. So there can be many different ways as well. And that when it comes to that so there can be different ways as well. Leadership can be in many different. So leadership has a different formats, different groups as well. So in addition to that, among different leaderships, the way the leadership is and that it can also be different as well. In some of the areas, some of the leaders so there are also that when sometimes leadership can be centralized, can be focused on one person, that it become very much a vertical kind of leadership. So the one in the top position will give orders, will give, will have an instruction, and then those who are lower than him or her will follow his or her or their orders and follow. So this is an individual form of leadership, one person leading that is and giving instruction. Another way of leadership is called collective leadership. That we have a team of people, we have a group of people, the people from different different institutions working together, discuss the dialogue, and then through the discussion, then they share, and then then also they also implement together, and they also are working together to handle that. That is a quality leadership. Another form of leadership I found is that sometimes we also have no, we don't have like a non-centered or that without leadership without any center or a focus point. That means that they are also sort of like missing their essence or the center as well. Instead, this kind of leadership that we don't know who is leader, or it is not clear who is in the leadership role as well. That there is no also structure of a collective leadership where the team speak together, discuss together, identify as well. In that kind of like a no that the center leadership without a center point or without a focus, then they would just as somebody who thinks is who find the best way will step in to form a leadership. That also that kind of leadership can also exist. What I'm saying is that when you say leadership, there could be like a individual leadership or the individual center leadership that would just center on a focus on a particular individual. There could be collective leadership, or there could also be more of an ad hoc leadership, like according to the situation. Then there is no leader designated as per se, but somebody will stepping up to do that, to promote, to add as a leadership. In reality, when you look on the ground, what kind of leadership is more successful depends very much on the context. It doesn't have a like a fixed kind of format. It depends a lot on the situation, the context that we are in. That we can also know what kind of leadership there be, and that the leadership what kind of leadership formats can we. So it depends very much on the context. That especially if we look, we don't in a revolution where you don't have a manual, or when you don't have a to follow, and that it is also hard to say what kind of leadership will there be. That in your question, it is also in your question you said like every train has a locomotive, every wagon of the train has a locomotive as an engine. That every wagon has an engine is that's that motto. It's a strong. It means that there is in every step, in every phase, there is a strong leader. It was true. It was true in the context, because last year February, immediately after the coup, we are seeing public demonstrations, and we have millions of people walking into the streets to demonstrate. And these communities are in millions and hundreds of thousands. They are doing a demonstration in different contexts across Myanmar, and that we cannot have a uniform kind of demonstration across Myanmar. That's not possible, because their context is different, situation is different, and they are the challenges that they face of the security or the control. I think it's very different. The public participation also is very different. So these all vary, and that so if you're going to say that every that if you want to say by saying every wagon has a locomotive, every wagon of a train have engineer means that they have their own ideas, they have their own initiative, they only have a local leadership which will be able to respond and make decisions so that they can organize demonstrations at their level as well. Because this kind of local leadership, help them be more creative. It could be they could take a different format. Sometimes it could be more entertainment. It could also be a more public outreach. There are different ways these public demonstrations have been organized according to their area, and they have the freedom to organize in a way they think is fit the most. At the same time, on the other hand, that we also have seen that also have that these acts also have a sort of like a shock that shocks the military hunter, and then shake them into response as well. So in our Spring Revolution, the public protest that people have staged in a way is the most innovative and most creative form of demonstrates if we had made it into history as such. That there has been also been a leader stepping up to do. Sometimes you see the Generation Z or the Gen Z or the younger generation, and that the Generation Z, they're doing it. They were able to connect and reach out, and that way they were even have that Milk Alliance, for example, like the Milk Tea Alliance, is very popular, where we have youth from other countries joining in with the youth of Myanmar, and they were also able to do a lot of tweets that went viral as well, and that they were also, when the military started to violently crack down these protests, also there was no central meeting where they say, okay, you need to prepare shields, or you need to use this or that to prevent yourself from the tear gas or the smoke balls. No, they find themselves out, and the leaders will take up the decision to that. So there was no centralized chain of command for these for the demonstration. That's also showed that expression that every wagon of the train has a locomotive, has an engine, that it is the kind of with the kind of leadership, the kind of ad hoc style of leadership without a focal point has been very useful when we are organizing different protests in different parts of Myanmar at different times, in different conditions, and at different levels of threat as well. If we say that this is a form of a leadership, that every initiative has its own leader, its own local way of making decision making, and that is an approach. That is an approach that is more very practical in the implementation of the demonstrations. On the other hand, what we also need since the revolution, the ideology. What are we resisting against? What is our revolution about? What is our end goal? What are we trying to reach? What is what is important for us? All these are important as well. That at the time that from the motto of the every wagon has a locomotive, then we also there was also, although it was working very strongly, we are also missing that ideological leadership as well. That so all of us are doing what we can and what we think is true, but we cannot move forward in the way that we think that is most possible. It was good to have this kind of ad hoc leadership for the organizing small demonstration across Myanmar, but there are also we need to take there are also important points we need to take into consideration. Like we need to consider that is what is important as well. We also need to identify what are the ideologies important for our revolution. There has been a lot of gaps that we know. So how do we have to fill in? Is that we try to fill in the gap of the ideological leadership by using collective leadership, that we cannot end our revolution by eradicating the military leadership. We need to find a new system. We also need to fight against systems and the systems and the structural violence that is oppressing and discriminating minorities. And we need gender equality. We need equal rights for all the communities. Without just that, and that it is important to do that. So that means that among the activists, among the youth, and these are some of the ethical or ideological leadership that is coming out of this work, and that is also contributing to the revolution, in shaping the goal of the Spring Revolution, as well as on the code of the Spring Revolution, and that because that also doesn't come from this idea of ad hoc leadership, like every wagon of the train has a locomotive. It is different. I think it is. We cannot say that this is the right form of leadership or not, because now we are in Myanmar resistance is now that mainly focus on the armed resistance during the time. it also depends on the context as well. For example, like that we had a lot of the urban guerrilla movement, and then guerrilla strikes as well. Then it is also important. Each organization, each group, they have their own idea, their own creativity, and their the ways to organize their own attacks or the strike as well. For example, like on the 8th of August, to commemorate that Tetra 8 revolution, they have a spring umbrella strike, and it was very beautiful. It was beautifully done in different parts of Myanmar without the unifying overarching kind of theme as well. And it was not like there was no decision from the central and giving orders to the lower level. No, we didn't have that. It was an initiative. Then they have urban guerrilla strikes or urban guerrilla demonstrations, and the attacks were taking place. And they were not, they have different units which make the decision to do so. In those areas yes, to an extent, this expression like every wagon has to accommodate this still true for such movements. However, there is also a need for strategy. We need to have a strategy that to establish common grounds, to establish a common decision making. Yes, we need a collective leadership to build that kind of system. In those instances, collective leadership is important. That the common agreement can only reach through the collective leadership. That we do it this way, I'm doing my way, and we are doing our way. You can do it your own. That will not be able to reach a solid, unified agreements or decision in Myanmar. And the kind of leadership is even more important because Myanmar had diversity in terms of ethnicity, religion, and also in ideology. So for a country with different major ethnic and religious and political differences, it is important that we are collective leadership. In that instance, however, instead of building common sense and agreement, then we will need collective leadership. We cannot act as if every wagon has its own locomotive, because then everyone will be going their own way. We'll never reach a common goal. So then it is important that there are also important parts. For example, like in the armed resistance, that there could be different front lines where when we are organizing a major battle waging a battle, then we also need a central command and control, that is central military strategy. When we are really fighting, then we are risking our lives, and then we need to have it as well. We cannot do, in that case, we cannot do that without the central focus kind of leadership. We cannot do adult leadership. We need to have a strong leadership to be able to know who is going where and who is doing what, and what battles are we waging. So that we also will need leadership to go with that as well. And lastly, I would like to say that during the Spring Revolution, that we need that ethical and that ethical leadership, as well as that we have ideological leadership. These leaders will need to be role models, and that they are not just in that they would they practice what they say with the browser what they reach, and that we had demonstration in the streets, like there has been demonstrations where we apologize to the Rohingya community for the past wrongs they have suffered as well. There has been efforts to talk about gender equality, but after a while, people have forgotten about that, and we're seeing them speaking an ethnocentric kind of that narrative, and that also trying to discriminate other communities or gender different people as well. And we need ideologically, we need strong leaders who will remain steadfast in the ideology that we are gender inclusive, we are aware of the minority rights, we are aware of the human rights violations, and to provide us with a steadfast kind of commitment and leadership from there as well. So that kind of ideological leadership needs to be consistent and needs to stand by its value. So in short, leadership varies according to the context, according to the situation, and that what we need the most in Myanmar right now is ideological leadership. We need to promote ideological leadership more than ever. Thank you, Komode. Thank you for sharing about that leadership and different ways of leadership, and that people using their own discretion, and that to be able to organize and that to use their own initiative, and that millions of people are able to, millions of people have walked down to the street to demonstrate by using their own initiative and ad hoc leadership style. And that we also thank you also for taking the time to analyze the different forms of leadership we have witnessed and we are still witnessing in this revolution. I think it will be, this analysis will also be useful for the other people as well. Now I would like to invite General Strike Committee about the co-leader from General Strike Committee. I would like to follow you up with another question about the leadership. So what are the challenges of leadership? What are the experience of leadership on the ground, in the ground experience? Is is your model the quality leadership, or is there a clear cut kind of leadership, individual leadership, or do you have any kind of a leadership style in the General Strike Committee? And that can you also share and discuss and analyze the situation that you have faced in the spring, faced at the beginning of the Spring Revolution? Thank you for your questions.
On
this topic, let me discuss in my personal opinion. And Htoi also has shared his perspective as well. Htoi also has shared about different forms of leadership and reflecting to the current context as well. For me, that when we say ground activities on the ground, that according to the revolution, we have a non-violent, peaceful demonstration and strikes, and we have the armed resistance. There are two ways we are responding to it. That both have both resistance needs that quality leadership, and it is also important to use the quality leadership most effectively in areas more needed as well. Generally speaking, for a group, for an entity, that often we have we have the vertical leadership, vertical relation. But then again, for us, it is also important to have that it is also important to see leadership as a need for the movement. With the coup, let's go back to the beginning of the beginning of the Thitsar coup and the Spring Revolution. We have a mass public movement where people are demonstrating in the streets, and I think that started with the first students and the workers demonstration on the 6th of February 2021. After that, public demonstrations have gained momentum because people are becoming more and more aware about it. We are also seeing more demonstration on the streets as well. That in the beginning, people are saying no to the military attempt at the coup, and there was more of an emotional kind of response, more emotional knowledge and awareness, and from this people start to demonstrate. After that, people start to be there. That we are seeing more and more political demands made in these demonstration as well. In the beginning, people are saying no just to simply no to the military coup, but later on, there has seemed to be political awareness that people are more awoke politically, despite the differences, despite the challenges, and that people want to say that we want to go beyond the status quo, and that's what we need. And that I think it was we have there were also some dilemmas like 72 hours. There were also there has been some sort of like tricks play narratives that like 72 hours we cannot demonstrate at all. We have to wait for the 72 hours. There was this kind of narrative was there when people are pushing for it as well. That later on people start to with the more knowledge they have, people start to understand that we cannot go back to the status quo before the coup, and we need to do better. That it is also important that that nation that we are come to see that there has been this 2008 constitution is blocking that, and they making this situation happen again. Then we need to abolish the constitution. We need to make sure we have a federal democracy that all the people of Myanmar, and with the ethnic communities in particular, have been demanding for. That with the public revolution, that we are able to do more outreach for people to understand better, and that's the advantage I will see. when the military start to violently crack down the demonstrations, there we have general strike committees in various townships of Yangon and different parts of Myanmar, and then we have urban guerrilla strike committees as well. And these are also situation is also based on these are situations that happened because of the fighting, because of the violence, and because of the persecution, so that later on people can no longer participate openly in public demonstrations in public space, because this is simply is no longer safe. If you look at it from one hand, they cannot blame the people. We cannot blame the people because politically that in the public uprising that said that occurred suddenly in response to Germany, that it is important. We need to take hold of the opportunity. We need to seize the opportunity, and that it is important that we use the opportunity. We seize the opportunity with both our hands. So when we do, during at that time, there was no clear formal leadership among those strike committees organizing. The strike committees were simply discussing that we're doing is that we don't see also political leadership as well. Later on, there was this thing there, but the strike committees were quite a matter of independent. They were more working mono. But later on, we have communities where we have groups, different parts in different township, and they started to work more actively in such a way that. So if we look at it from the current situation right now, that there are organizations in their own groups, like according to the area, they would be active. They will organize demonstration. But if we look at the nationwide level, we are not seeing a nationwide level kind of leadership and that arrangement. We are not there yet. We haven't seen it. If we look back, that collective movement and collective leadership are different. Because that those who work together to lead together, they need to have common grounds. They need to have the common agreements. They also need to have all those that they agree on to implement and work together. Right now, that it's not. We have seen that the people are working together, and but however, we still have to be hopeful for the leadership that is more than just working together to have a grand strategy, and then the leadership and the operation that we have to follow, that from this leadership to create a front, and from the front to create a coalition of different fronts. That is still needed. If I say that, then they will say that what about that there are also other, is what about the existing forms of leadership, like for about NUG is a front line. We also have the coalition like NUCC. What about them? People might highlight that. But if we take this into consideration, and that NUG and UCC is that in recently that NUG and UCC is that have that we are not seeing a clear agenda or the clear channel, clear way forward. So what is happening is that if we look at it from the ground situation, that is it's not the leadership. It is not the leadership problem. Leadership is not there. It's not the leadership is too in a way there are too many that we don't have. Is the leadership is not in a way not strict in a way because not consolidated. It's spread out. It's everywhere. It doesn't have a nationwide coverage. So that it seems that there seems to be too many small units of the leadership, and that can be that when we are fighting against the enemy, that if we can put our forces behind a single punch, then it will be more effective than like many people from punching everywhere with different limited forces. That's my analogy. So for the NUG, NUG is like the front, and that, for the front to have the force, the NUC's coalition wanted to follow, but without a clear agenda, without a clear policy of how they will support the NUG, then it will not be effective in a coalition building, interest building, but we might play into the hands of the military, and that can also undermine or weaken the strength of our coalition or their front line. So I think it is something we all need to be aware of and need to be prepared for. Thank you. So in this discussion that you have reflected on the way people have organized the demonstrations in the beginning of the revolution. You talk about the different massive public movements across Myanmar, and now people are also people need a clear, strong leadership in that eradication of the eradication of the military dictatorship in their resistance movement as well. Now I would like to invite Thitsar. So what I would like to ask Thitsar is that, so what are the strengths and weaknesses of the SAC military leadership? The way the military leadership is structured, what are its weaknesses and strengths as well? That so what can you also discuss the important roles of the chain of command and that the different levels of leadership in the armed forces? Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to join in that this talk show, and thank you to the organizers for inviting me. The questions that you ask are good. They are also important. They are also important questions that we need to discuss in the current context. Let me reflect the question. So when we look at the army or the military of Myanmar, if you need to know how they are structured, how they are structured, what kind of leadership there is, and what are the strengths and weaknesses of this the structure of the leadership. We need to understand how the military is structured, how its leadership is constituted. That's, I think, understand that that's the question is about, and these are all important information that so that whatever objectives that we're implementing or whatever goals we're reaching for, quality leadership is very important. So as a revolutionary forces as well, we also have to make sure the leadership is strong and the leadership is clear, and that clear and for the people to understand the goal as well. It is also important to understand what kind of leadership military structure is there in Myanmar, because knowledge about your enemy is also an advantage for us. So it is important to know your enemy. First of all, to talk about the structure of the military. To make it easy to understand, I would like to explain in two parts. So we have we had a military operations, and we also have logistics. There are two parts to it. One is about the operation, and the other is for the logistics support. So there are two parts to the system as well, and also there are also others like. We also have other units which are for the other purposes as well. But to make it very clear, I would like to focus on these two. When it comes to the operations, that those who are operationalized, we have had regiments and battalions. We also have Dasaka. So there are different levels of the military structure as well, and then you have 10 soldiers to a unit, and then we also have through the units, you also will have different forms as well, and that before in the past that we didn't have if you look at back on the history, that we didn't when the BIA, the Burma Independence Army, was first established, there is no army or navy. So that soldiers often say that the military was established by General Aung San, but this military, and it can no longer be called as an army, that they call the military that was established by General Aung San, because in nature, in the essence of it is very different as well. So it is different. So that just let me decide this. When the military was first established, we only have an army. There is no navy. There is no there is only one form of armed forces as well. At that time, I think it is also important to explain the structure of the army and the military as well, and so Navy is not a structure like as we don't have like infantry forces or infantry forces as well, and so that what that they don't have that like that, but if they have a Senate Navy boat, they go by boat, they go by fleet. So they will have how many soldiers, how many sailors are deployed as well, and what are that they will also it also would depend on the organization structure is based on the command as well. In the same for the Air Force as well, the jet fighters, the jet fighter crews are established differently, and then in that they have helicopter fighters are also organized differently. In that Air Force command also is also different as well. That all these structures are also different. If you look at the structure of the military, they have been built for thousands of years. So it's very structured, it's very prepared, organized, it's very well planned. But that it doesn't matter how good the structure or the organization is. That without proper leadership, the organization will be impacted by it. So if the leaders are not ethical, then it doesn't matter how good they are. That is also it will crumble. So that is what we are facing now as well. On the other hand, we have we as a fighting units, or that we have operating units, and then we also have the other bandits for the logistic support, because of soldiers also need logistic. They also need food. Without the food or without supply, they cannot fight. So that to provide them with supplies, to provide them assistance, we also have the logistic as well. So we have the chief of staff, and then we also have different logistics as well. So they have different responsibilities to provide different duty as well, and that those the chief of staff, the joint civil will also provide assistance to the military as well. In short, that the commander-in-chief, what is the role played by the commander-in-chief? They are important. That especially that we have many organizations, like we have over 400 organizations, and that we also have different revolutionary forces as well. The essence, I think, will be is that in terms of a repartition of duties or tasks as well. That so that how they manage is that there will be the commander-in-chief will give assigned duties and mandates as well. And then what will be there will also be military archives will be giving appointments, taking actions, and also be making sure all them prepared. And then we also have the logistic. For the logistic part, they make sure the soldiers have the uniforms, and that they will also make sure that they also have they also have the uniform, the necessary equipment. They organize also cars as well, and that's why we need it. They have a lot of clerks, and we also have that adjutants of the unit as well. So they are logistic. They are not. They want to make sure that there is also food for them, place to stay for the soldier, and the uniforms to wear. That's what they make sure to support as well. So they have different tasks and different assignments. However, the problems of Myanmar military is that corruption, and there is also the bigotry. Though if you know there's certain important people, then you are in a better place. So you will be in a good place. You can make chaos. So that also is problematic as well. So they are also not happy with each other, and they don't respect as well. They don't respect their superiors as well. So that because of there's discrimination and the corruption, they don't respect the leadership. So that also is undermining the leadership of the military as well. And then the laws, there are laws, but the military laws are very can be very bad. That that it doesn't matter whatever that the leaders do, you cannot talk them back. You cannot tell them back, because the leaders are like the kings and the queen. They're like the kings, and they make you the decision. They are like their feudal lords. So you are not the way to do that. I said there are, of course, soldiers who are not happy. There are no officers who are not happy, but they cannot talk back, because if you talk back, then they will be in terms of the policies and that they do. It's like a British Empire. It's like a colonial empire. It's like the fascist Japanese empire, the kind of a top-down kind of absolute control as well. So that it's like this army as if like they are the empire of the king, of the queen, or the king. You have a one. It's like we have a one and that empire who is that where the emperor who is ruling the Israel. And it is really bad for the foot soldiers. So their lives are really bitter, that they get 150,000 chats and they cannot support their all of the children and the children and the family. So it cannot go outside to work. They are suffering. They are suffering as well. That what I want to see in Myanmar as a humanitarian is that the military that is a professional, that is human, that has humanity. It could be one state, one army. It could be state by that. We want to make sure that there's a system that ensures that military is military-based law. That we don't want one army system. There could also be there will be a union army. There could also be like state army. We want the military to be more structured, like a federal army as well. And that in this one army system, when we have that the top leadership can abuse the foot soldier, and that makes it even harder for the rank and file to be most neglected as well. Now the soldiers are being hated. The people hate the soldiers. People are calling soldiers as dogs, like the worst form of animal, and that they cannot take it. But then again, they cannot talk back. They cannot explain this to their leadership. If they say that they don't want to be called, if they want to be assigned, then they will be punished. They will be incarcerated in the military prison. But my message to the other fellow comrades is that if you want to live like a human being, if you want to be a human, then it is important to join that, to defect and join that, and to support that and contribute to the building of the federal army. That's all I would like to say. Thank you. Thank you, Kodesa, thank you very much indeed for that you have shared about the importance of how the military leadership is like, and as a CDM, and also I think something that the information that you have shared is important for the people, the folks to know about it as well, and that you also know about it, that although you are a human, the soldiers are human being, is now not being treated smartly. They are being formatted and brainwashed into sort of like existence where you are not even, you do not have a chance to be to think yourself really. And that is also important for us to know, that I think this is also something we all of should know about as well. So that so to the people who are listening, I would like to remind you that we are in the first part as well, and that right now that so we also would like to will be given a chance to our audience to ask questions very soon, and that will also be given some time for the participants as well. That for that I would like to invite Moderator for the second round as well. After that, we also have a Q&A as well, so that to be able to achieve the goal so that my question to Komodwe in the second round is that in order to become leaders, going to achieve effective who can achieve effective that powerful leadership and win the goal of the revolutions that people want. What kind of efforts do you recommend to encourage those who are leading the what kind of efforts do you recommend to the leaders, and then also how will you encourage those who are leading the current revolution? Yes. Thank you for your question. Firstly, I would like to point out that leadership is a skill. leadership is a skill, and that as a skill, that it is that you will not be able to learn. You need to learn the skills. You do not acquire automatically, so you have to learn as well. That so that just having a getting a public support doesn't mean that you become a leader automatically. That because that being popular, be a lot of people supporting you, is that's your in a way that's your celebrity, that's your reputation. But you need to have skills to become effective leaders. It doesn't matter where you are, that if you are in that if you are in on the ground, if you are in the political contest, I think it is important those who are in the leadership position will need to learn the subject of leadership and acquire the skills as well. It is important that you need to have a to focus on the kind of leadership that your position require. If you're leading a unit, and then you need to be able to have leadership. If you're a ground commander, you need to have the leadership skills to successfully lead your group as well. If you are in a political position, then you also need to be able to achieve the goals that your entity has set out to do. That's a different kind of leadership, different skill leadership. Well, leadership is not leadership is a skill, and that you acquire, that you learn as well. And you don't automatically become a leadership because if you're good looking, or if you're charismatic, or you know how to talk to people, that and there are also, I understand that there is also a leadership that abstains from leadership, that abstains from leading. That if you're in a wrong position, or if you're if you're not a person most suited to, if you don't have the skills required to lead the job, then it is important to lead by not being a leader, by giving a chance to somebody else who is better suited, whose skills are more necessary for this. Well, in certain position, you cannot do it. You don't have the skills or the capacity, or you're not interested in it, or people like you so much that they offer you a leadership, and you're not interested, or you don't have the skills for it. And if you stay there, then that's making the wrong decision. It's important to be the leader by stop being a leader, by giving another person to take the leadership, by letting other people show up, by making this hard call that I'm not best suited to this position. But it is important to look for the interest of the greater good, for the revolution, that your owner benefit as well. And when we say leadership, and the person has been assigned as a leader, and the person take their job, and okay, we have a leader, he is in the leadership position. No, that doesn't stop there. It is important to continue observing the skill of the leadership, that these leaders, what are their skills, what are the organization is doing. It is also important to evaluate them as well, so that that is that we keep out all the mind as well. And also, in addition, that it is also important for those organizations, or those who are supporting this leader, also need to look into it as well. That are they in the right position? Are they doing the right thing? That is important. And moreover, that it is important that those in the leadership position will also need to evaluate their actions as well, because as we have discussed in the past, that leadership is not monolinear. It cannot be always be go the same way, because you need to make sacrifices, you need to make difficult choices, you need to make tough calls, and you cannot be a leadership and be present elsewhere. You need to focus on what is important. You also need to evaluate whether your style of leadership or your kind of leadership is still necessary, or is still is suited to the context as well. It is so important those in leadership position is need to look at their style of leadership. Is it still necessary for the ground situation or not? Then it is also important. If you cannot, then it is important to change or adapt. And if necessary, then it is also important. It might be necessary if the leaders are not getting anywhere, or they don't have the skill. Then we need to make a change. We need to make a call for the change, to switch one leader for another, because that is also part of the leadership that is accountable to the revolutionary movement as a whole as well. That we already have side people as leader, then yes, our job is that. No, other leaders really doing their job, that they accepted? Do they have the skills necessary or the experience necessary required? If not, then we have to either change the approach or change the leader. Another important thing is that when people are in a certain leadership position, And then they say, I represent my organization. I have the people supporting me, that I am a elected member of the parliament and all that, and that I have a lot of followers on the social media, and that if I share a post, then we'll have many, hundreds of people, thousands of people like in my share like in my, and that's celebrate, that's being a celebrity, that's kind of public knowledge of you as a person doesn't really guarantee the leadership skills, and that it does also guarantee that they will have the necessary skills to lead us and to be a real leadership as well. It doesn't mean the number of followers or the being charismatic or having a lot of people follow you doesn't necessarily mean you have the leadership skills. What is leadership skill is to looking at analyzing the situation of the revolution, what is missing, what is needed, and how do we make it way forward. As I mean, we need to urge people, we need to call on people, you also might need to push people into action as well. And that's the leadership that is having that being sensitive to know what is going on and what kind of leadership needed as well. I think a leader's being leadership skills is all about proving. It's by proving by action, not by words. Doesn't matter which trade union or which organization, which federation, which party you represent. What is important is that how can you be a leader? Your leadership, what kind of positive impact does it bring to the community as a whole? Only then that will be able to enjoy to be able to enjoy the fruits of the revolution and that the rights of the people as well. So what we need to do is every individual or every other group that you need to also to share that. We need to see those who are in the leadership, the committee. Is the committee doing well? Is the committee doing what it's supposed to? That the coalition force or those are they really functioning? Are they really making good as well? That maybe this representative we have, does he have the ability? Does he have the skills to do so as well? It is also important to always to improve and to promote leadership so that there will be the appropriate leaders working actively in the grounds. It is also important to differentiate their military affairs from their politics. I don't understand much about the military affairs, but what I understand is that that if we look at it, generally speaking, either in military or either in military or the political sector, leadership needs to be monitored. There should be observational leadership. There should be a review, because these are the specific skill required specific qualifications. So we need to keep an eye on it, whether these top positions can take the job. For example, like our enemy is SAC. We have the SACs there, and then we got that because of the SAC, and there are also crony businessmen as well. That they are that they will be say they will always be checking into their leadership as well. They will also bring a change as well. I mean, very recently they are even their caretaker so-called Shem government, even the Shem government, they look at those in leadership position and they are make changes as well. And they will also often make changes when it comes to that as well. Sometimes they will also do that is rather what is right or wrong, that they always check. They always make sure that there is a responsibility and accountability, and that when it comes to that leadership, they are always evaluating. They are always changing. What are they missing is that the way they work. In terms of they don't have the right leadership. They cannot add they cannot add in the same way as well, and that's the biggest challenge. They are not ethical. They are not in the right way of the right. That in this revolution we don't want we want the genuine federal democracy. We want equal rights, and that it is also that this is a demonstration that this is a fight where we are striking a revolution, fighting for democracy, for equality. This is a revolution based on political system. That's why they cannot win it. Because if it is a revolution, that based on the approach and tactics, they will not be able to. They will be able to do that. But once again, the military doesn't have the right leadership, because all those who are fighting, they do not have they do not have the skills skills that they need. We can say that, what they are fighting is that they may say that they cannot say that they are writing that the fight war. There is no proof for that. So that's why they are losing that, because they cannot prove that. That's why they cannot control their country as well. In short, we can say that for our revolutionary forces, the leaders, I think that that it is important. We also need to learn from the enemies that they always have a commander, and that it is important that they cannot get it as well. They will be changing that as well. That they will always change their commanders, they will change leaders, and it is also important that leadership need to be monitored. Leadership need to be changed if necessary. That what I'm saying is not just about removing people position. That we are now that when in the revolution, and we might need to look back on that. We might need to look back on our reserve. We might need to change the lineup. We might also need to approach a strategy, because if we are not getting where we are, this is also, we should learn from our enemy as well, that we need to change our strategy. We need to change those in a certain position as well. But thank you, Komodo, what you have analyzed is that in this revolution, and that those who are leading in different position, I think it is also important to look back on their leadership, and that also the military that doesn't have the right form of leadership, and that's why also for the soldiers, or that there are also they're losing out on it, and they don't trust in their leadership. They don't trust in the system. That is also in a way that weakening their military as well, and that it is like I'm sure that the other revolutionary forces, I hope that you also have heard about what Komodo has shared with as well. Now I would like to invite Hnin once again, and that so that to be able to eradicate the military dictatorship, the Revolutionary Front NUG, as well as and the Terrorist Coalition NUCC and other EROs, and that in building. And why do you think it's taking so long to fail as well? And what is also causing it? And that this what of the speakers are saying, out of what the speaker is saying, that is important to that that what should we be looking into in terms of leadership as that. I also like to ask question is that why is the revolution force that the Revolutionary Front Energy is delaying in building a unified political military revolutionary unity in order to eradicate the military dictatorship quickly? So what kind of solutions do you recommend to overcome and then collaborate as well? That what will be your recommendations for the leadership to become more effective and strong? So yes, I would like to, before responding to the question, I would like to say that yes, I agree to some of the points that Komodo have made, so I will not be repeating them again. Yes, to end the military, to end that military leadership, it is important for that leadership. We need to be most effective in the leadership, in doing so. That and NUG, the most important point I would like to say is that for this revolution to be successful, we never had this is the second time that we are having that kind of opportunity as well. I think it has happened in that during the revolution against the fascist as well. In these two events, what we have seen is that the support of the people that during that revolution against the colonial fascists and the army there, we had such a strong support as well. I think it is important to be able to take it. It is important for the leaders, and that for those who are leadership position and other position, it is important for all of us to be part of part of it. Another part is our revolution that we are also seeing that people are also gaining momentum as well. That is important to know that as well. That after during the Spring Revolution, that our DPNS and the other different foreign revolutionary forces, they have worked together. We have worked together for the establishment of the GSC, and GSC was established. And that in doing so, we do also receive a lot of complaints from the people. Like, is it necessary? Are they trying to advantage every working has a locomotive? Are they trying to exploit us? And that we do receive a lot of feedback as well. I only say that 2008 Constitution has been dissolved, and people say that no, we don't need to dissolve it, and that as well, that there has been a lot like that, a lot of response like that. But what we need is that that we need those who are in the working on the ground. We need that there was a general strike committee is necessary, and that we also know that only through the collective work that we'll be able to win, and through this through the experience that we learn as well. And that so people that we also learn that people are also learning although from the ground as well. In short, that and that so what we are doing is that people are focusing on the Spring Revolution, on the Armed Revolution, and then is a revolution. It is important for alliances are important, because armed resistance that we are doing, that we are in the armed resistance not because we want to, but because of the oppressiveness of the as well, that abundance of military. So right now in our Spring Revolution, and that we also know that it is important for us to know that that as well, because all that there are different. I'm not saying that all the general strikes or the different rounds of demonstrations are not important, but it is important that now is the armed resistance is the most important, and they also need to be that they will become the game changer as well. Armed resistance cannot be put aside. It is the most important part of the revolution right now, and that now we have the PDF, a lot of PDF. So armed resistance is most important. Now we have the PDF. In among the PDF, you have the PDF, those PDF who are under the NUG. There are also those who are not affiliated to the NUG as well. There are also EROs and the ERO affiliated PDF as well. So that it is important that coalition and military cooperation of different forces is extremely important as well. That it is important that we need to be able to understand the role of them and to consolidate them. So whenever in a forming that in waging war, or in even that it is important to understand the role of these different entities and of the energy to make sure to balance it in a way to make the revolution effective, because that all of us are that through our efforts we are all working together we all have a common agreement of eradicating the military leadership and building the new federal nation despite the common agreements. And then why are we not having a strong political and military collaboration is always a question. That what I would like to add to the discussion is that often this revolution where we have all the different communities who have suffered greatly under oppression, they are all part of it. I think it is important to be able to go beyond the parameters of like your ethnicity or your political party. I think if we focus more on the solidarity and equality, this revolution will become stronger as well. And that in our in the relation that we have with other communities, I think it is important that it is also important to ensure that that relations are important, that to have understanding is important as well, and that it is also important for the other forces. They should think that it is important to join that. It is important to focus on that, focus on for the interest of the revolution, and that rather than focusing on certain policies and certain points, it is also important that we have a way to believe on what is more important. That we have that we focus on what is most needed, and that that is important. That we can also find a way to be able to work together. I think it's important to find a way to focus on what is more important rather than some of our reservations or issues as well. That in this, I think in this revolution, we are trying to eradicate the system. In this system, that our community has suffered greatly for many years. That we are also trying to change not only the military leadership, we also try to change the system, change the ideology, and that is important. I do remember that in the beginning of this revolution, that we have there was also very very strong that a gender revolution where we say the strong of the women, and they are breaking the social norms. That was incredible. that in Myanmar, that in Myanmar society, often that that the tamang of the song that were worn by the women are considered as a disgrace to the men's masculinity or the grace, of so to speak. But that kind of we find to change in this revolution. In this revolution, it is important for all of us that when we are trying to change the mindset, change the ideology, change the system, then why can't we also take down a notch of what we that our own bias, our own student, our own prejudice of what we believe in? I think it is important to be less focused on who we are as an organization, but it is when you focus on, like as a society have asked for, I think it is also important that to be able to find a way for the effort to form the coalition as well, that it is important that unless we can do that, unless we can give them a space for that as well, then we might not be able to do that. Without if we focus too much on our own needs and issues and not looking into the greater good or the more of a broader interest, then we'll not be able to build on something important, agree on it as well. And that is something that is also a weakness that you have pointed out as well, and that it is important that for us, I think it is important. It is important for all of us to reduce our egos, and that the emotions that we attach to it. That it is that it is important that it is important for all of us also to to know that where we need to focus on, where we need to rely on. And I think that you are also pointing that out as well. And that so we also have some questions we have asked by the others also for you. I think I will also be asking that when we have a quick Q&A session, so we also would like to ask you to expand on the point because in advance, because there will also be a question answer later, and I will also give you a chance to also be able to do that as well. Now, this time I would like to ask question to Kolio that so it's the same question, and that I would like to say that so what will be how should the people support? So in order for the leadership to become effective and strong, and to be able to unite as a consolidated revolutionary force, how can the public, how can the people of Myanmar support it? That that Myanmar has already discussed about what is important for the leadership, what needs to be taken down in consideration, and what need to be focused on. My question to Golio is that what about the people? Then how can the people support the Air Force into this creation of a building of a consolidated revolutionary force? What the people should support or criticize, as well as on the form then to help balance as well, for the revolution to be revolutionary leadership to be more effective, to be more effective and consolidated. I think it is important. That different revolutionary forces coordinate and cooperate as well in this spring revolution of 21st century. That we have never seen any revolution where we have received major support from the people, and we haven't seen that. So in this around this revolution, this revolution has the incredible the most incredible public support, so that yes, it is important to support the people, that to support the movement is important, but to observe, monitor, and criticize. I think that people people do not have a platform, people do not have such a platform, and that people may not be able to say that, but that people can also say a lot as well in this. So what we are saying is that if you look at all the challenges that people are facing, that people are, I would say that people are just responding to it on a subjectively. That now we have a discussion and that we have it online. We are able to do that on share, but on the ground, some of the people, as people are struggling so much that they won't be able to use the internet as well. That for the people to be able to chance, people need to also have a platform. Where do we go? Where can, which class can it reach it? I think it's also important that which community will have the ability to do that. That is also important for us. As it is important those the different forces who are working on it, and they also need to understand that as well. If the people cannot be able to sit there, and then they also need to understand, also need to understand that what people are facing, they have to do that as well. That is that. So then they will know that they will know what they need to do as well. That to add to that, the people have people of Myanmar that people can be considered as they are that people can be considered as that is to be able to see the leadership. People don't have the ability to follow. People don't know that people are following us that they are not going out when they are not do that. So the people are trying to follow all the calls that are made as well. That it is important to when it comes to the people's support here. I think there are no questions. We don't need to ask any questions. People supported it. But I think it is also important that revolutionary forces need to understand what people are facing on the ground as well, and that that we'll not say that that we'll not say it clearly. We don't have to say what people need to do, and in every situation, I think it is people have always been present, and people has always followed ready as well. That's why we're seeing public major uprising where we have a massive public movement as well. Along with the challenges and difficulty, people have always been with us as well. I think that it is important that there will also be more from the efforts from the people. So it is important to, in a way, to build consolidated forces. It's important, it's necessary. I think it is important that the revolutionary forces find a way through dialogue, and that exchange, and that to discuss with open mind and the broad way of thinking, broad way of thinking, so that they can find ways to collaborate for the sake of the people, because people don't have such a floor to discuss. Thank you for sharing that. For people, how people do not have a platform participating, and that it is. Thank you also for sharing what can be done to contribute to that. Thank you for sharing. Now that for the second round last speaker, I would like to ask a question to go this that as according to your experience as a young military commander, the junior military commander, based on your military experience, then what will be your recommendations? The advice you want to give to building that leadership that can build unity and that can provide clear and specific leadership among the revolutionary forces? That is a very hard question. To be able to have a leader that can be able to bring everybody together, different forces and fragments, that takes time. It's not easy. It's not an easy job. It also takes a lot of time. There are a lot of things you have to be aware of, and that as well. It's not an easy job. It's not an easy task to do. So that's why if it is easy, this revolution could have been won a long time before. My advice is that I think I would like to focus more on the revolution. If you want to do the revolution, then it is important that we need to learn more about this, because that revolution is about changing the situation for the people. So that I think it is important that we need to educate the people. Of the leader, we need to learn the skills. We need to learn that, so that we can read it as a leaders. You need to have leadership skills. That it is also that is important that if you want to give political leadership, or if you want to understand about the politics, if you want to provide funding, logistic, and then you also be able to find ways to raise funds as well. So there are different ways that you can be a leader, and that it is important to build your skill. It is important to build your knowledge. It is important to continue learning, keep on learning, as that is important. If not, that if we cannot do that, then it will be that the question whether if you're waiting for a leader to come in, or if you were to say that, well, there were issues or the leadership, a lot of people complain that as well. But it's also important to ask yourself the question as well, and that what kind of lead? How do you define leadership? Who is who kind of person do you consider as a leader? And that it is that we need to have a clear understanding as well. We also need to look at that if we don't have that leader, that then what kind of that we say, I have Madi, I have a leader. Then if you're going to say that, is that the person, are we going to follow this person? No, because the work that we are doing, that are we going to give the right for that person to make decision? Is that so it is important that we need to learn about leadership, what is important, what it entails, and then again, where do you all see that so either for the businessmen, business leadership, politicals will have political leaders who have leadership. If you're an NGO and you're running business, then you have an NGO leadership skills. These leadership skills also vary across the field as well. So it is important that when we say that revolutionary leadership, revolution, it can be in different ways as well. So it is that sometimes that leadership can go in the different ways as well, and that what do we need in the Spring Revolution, the revolution we have here in this revolution? What kind of leadership it is? I think based on that, we also need to decide on the leadership skills as well. That if you look at on the ground, when we say leader, that people say that is an individual or an organization. When you say leader, that it could be one person, it could be a team leader, it could be organization leader, and that so we have also major organization. We also have political parties, and then we also have so there are different ways that there can be different formats as well, and that it is also important to be able to look at that as well, that different organizations, so they are based on their goal and objective, and the way they organize vary from each other. That our common, if you look at our common goal is for the establishment of the Federal Democratic Nation, for the Democratic Union, and each of us may have different goals. Although we have, some people think the CDM is more important, and this the CDM, and that they're also important. Others will think that the General Strike Committee is important, and then some will also be that they could also be different ways according to the role, according to the way the all groups are formed also differ, but every unit will need a form of leadership, and leadership were different. And being a leader, different leadership is not a problem. It's important to have mutual respect, and that it is also important to understand their commitment to the leadership, and you're committed to the leadership to according to your belief and according to God's belief in. So I think it is important to to the leadership, so if you do not respect each other, then you cannot achieve what you want. So I think it is important to understand different goals, go based on the goals and objectives, and that there are many organizations, that there are many ways as well. That it is okay, it's normal to have them, and each organization will have different leader, and that's also all right. And the supporters will also have their PDF also. You have UGs also have their leadership as well, and that it is also that different institutions also have have the leadership too. That they have. It all depends on the ideology, and then based on the ideology, then the ideas are different as well. If you think that that we do what we believe is good for the revolution. In the revolution, also people say that people say, oh, this is what this is the problem between and that NLD and the military. Then people will say that we don't have to believe it, but only through this people believe that people that we have to be part of it. That people came into it. I think what it is important that ideology is important. That's what that in this the majority of the conflict we have is that if you look at it, that because when people have a different goals, and then there could also be some friction as well, among the PDF and the supporter and the UG and the revolutionary media. There could be if you are doing in different ways, then you don't see a major the friction as well. That if you look at that for organization which have to work at that nationwide level and to think about it, however, in this organization, then that they have to that it can be also be very difficult as well, and that that it's not like working with different organization, and that it is you have to focus a lot on it. There are a lot of things that you focus on, a lot of things that are also important, that so by the way they think ideologically can be very different, and that what we try to do is that that the more we go is that we get to be more to get more CDMs that we can focus on it for the media. Okay, we do this, and it is easy for us to do, but however for the revolution is harder as well. It's different if you have to say that we have to do a lot, so this event. So I think it is also important to be able to respect each other, but the work we do that, because it's important. It's a issue is so in a way, and that because I'm working at the nationwide level, so I don't care about what the other. No, it's more than that. And also it is also important for the that to understand that as well, and that that yes, there are things it may be different, things may be different, but we can also not that complain on as well. So that for for those who will become the leader, for the nationwide leader, I think that the task will be daunting. It will be difficult. However, what we need to think is that that it is important for us to consider as well that based on our experience, and that that it is important that we do think about the leadership can be different, that the revolution can be different, the position can be different. So it also depends on the revolution as well, and that it is it is important for the leadership may differ according to situation. The different formats may change, and that it is also important that there will be different that that the challenge that we took can also be different as well, and that it is important that we also find a way to do that, because if we cannot do that in time, we could also be losing out as well. That is that to have the leadership, it can be difficult, but from the leadership, it also depends on the ground situation. It's a ground situation which also changed as well. That those who are in our in our environment, and that the time that people are hoping for, the time that we have, based on the time and that situation, there will be leaders, and that and it is also important for those leaders to be that we should not blame them. We should not blame them, but we can criticize them. We should also support them as well. And that that you also that if you don't have a standard or criteria of the leaders, then whoever it is coming to, and if you don't recognize them as leaders, then there is something wrong as well. That when it comes to, when you look at the political and military leadership, there are two parts. There is political leadership, there is military leadership, and that in the central military leadership is more centralized, and that sometimes that it can also be hard and difficult as well, and that right now that is one thing for certain is that we have over 400 groups. We don't need 400 armies, and that we need to have the centralized. We have to try our best to be able to centralize as well, and that in this urban guerrilla warfare is important. Without we need to have a strong chain of command that we also need to try very hard to be able to achieve them as well, and that we also need to think holistically. So if you have to think for the big picture, so we cannot do micromanagement. We cannot be focusing on the small little things as well. I think it is important that it is also important that that we have to be clear as well that for the future, and that we have to think that clearly that when you say federal army, yeah, it is important to be able to field the federal army, that you have be able to do that as well, and that you also need to be able also to mobilize the people as well, and that only when you can mobilize the people, when you make them understand, that people can follow as well, because if not, they will not be. Because if we say that the federal say the federal army, and that everybody's saying federalism. Military also say federalism. Our sides are saying federalism. And you say federalism to other entities of federalism. But it is important to do the federalism. That's something people can understand and follow, and people can relate to, and that's something that the leaders need to do. Second is also the giving the guidance, and the guidance is important, and that that when you think about, if we think that whether it is also based on the decision that has been made, the focus will go, whether focus be on resistance, or whether go on the other political approach, we don't know. And that it is also important that we need to know which direction are we going, that whatever we will go on, which format will we go on. That is what that in the democratic revolution as well, and that that we need to think about it as well, and that so you have like Washington, that there will be in the US, okay, Washington will give that guidance as well. In China, they have more tone, and then they will give it as well, and that these are that important, that so we need to understand as well. So it is important we understand that if not, that we that we need to have those leaders who can share us the vision, that what the direction where we are going, and then also the goal and where we are going. It is important to be articulate the goal clearly as well, and that is important that that we need to have the kind of leaders, and that organization institution is important as part of the leadership. Thank you.
Hello. 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 Hello.
Okay, we might have lost. We might have lost her.
Hello. Hello. Okay, share.
Thank you, Thitsar. Thank you for sharing. Because I did have a shorter internet connection, so I was not able to hear the last part, but I'm sure that people have been able to what Thitsar has shared. That so we have finished the first and second round of the discussion, and that so we talk about the after talking about when we talk about the leadership, we have heard about that is the need for us as well, and that we also talk about the, we also heard about it is important for the NUG and other leaders of the revolutionary forces to assess that the leadership structure, and that for the people how can the people can support and contribute to for the consolidation of the revolutionary leadership, and that how can that leadership can be strengthened by each and every leader in different roles, and by strengthening their leadership skill. So thank you for sharing that as well. And that now it's time for us to now it's time for us to ask questions, and that we'll be giving time to the participants to raise your hand and ask for questions as well. And I see a new question as well, and I haven't seen the hands being raised in my screen. Is there anyone on the Zoom? I have raised my hands. Okay. So please ask your question. You have the floor. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Bozo. Right now, I'm also a fighter in a local PDF as well, and I have five questions. Firstly, I would like to ask my question about the role of the NUCC. That in the role of the NUCC, that in the Federal Democracy Charter 2, that so according to so there are also differences that is come to that as well. So there are differences in terms of ethnic rights as well. In the part 2 of the Federal Democracy Charter, that the Federal Democracy Charter 2 is not equal to the others, and that then in the interim arrangements, that it will be that it will I think it will need to be revised to make sure that it is equal to make it effective, and that for this reason, that so during the I understand also that interim constitution now being drafted. So what is the progress of the interim constitution? Well, the interim constitution, every constitution will impact all this as well, and that what is the progress in terms of the development, the progress of the constitutional drafting as well. And I think internet having an issue, because what I was listening to is not very clear. Can you type it in the question? Can you type your question in the chat box, because we cannot hear you well. Can you hear me now? Yes, I can hear you now. It's clear. It's clear now. That I have 5 questions. My first question is first is the role of the NUCC. So now we have the Charter 2, and that I understand the Federal Democracy Charter 2 were the base for the transitional constitution as well. In the constitutional drafting, I think also there are also some weaknesses in terms of ethnic participation as well. That if the 2 is not Charter 2 is not very inclusive, then if they were to keep on working on it, that can also have a further problem as well. If the transitional constitution is drafted, then what will happen to what will be the impact on the relation with the Wa, Rakhine, or the Mon as well? What about the Chin and the Krani, Kotule, and Kachin, and what is the relation with the NUCC? And that also, what about the Rakhine and Mon and others? They have a NUG relation. What is it like with the those who are more closely as well? I think in the Ministry of Defense, U Yimo and U92 they said that can they really give a leadership to the PDF that is over 100,000? If they cannot, provide the leadership, shouldn't they be transfer their position to others? So we are a local PDF group. That if a local PDF group, that we have the chain of command as well. That we know that we have to chain of command important, but NUG itself does not have an agreement as well. That and then so what happened in the Krani and Karen, and that and also the NUG, there were also also the part about the NUG as well. So these are so difficult. So that's why we cannot join in the chain of command, and then also that they don't have, there is no the transitional constitution. The commanders, we are seeing that the commander do not have the skills necessary as well. So that so what should be the position of the, so that's why look at PDF doesn't want to join. And what is your opinion on that? My fifth question is that the CDM Captain Thitsar also had talk about it. Talk about. I would like to explain about what is the position of the, what about the position of the military as well. And if there are too many questions, then I can also give you the question if there are I'm giving that too many questions at one time. I think maybe Hmway and Thitsar will be able to will be the best to answer these questions as well. If you want to, I think, add to the questions, I also like to invite Moderator to join us. If all of you answer, I'll be very happy. Okay, in that case, the time also is also late, so I'd like to welcome you that if others also, and also other people, if you have question also, please feel free to that is feel free to ask your question in the chat box, and we'll wrap up after this. Thank you. And that to answer these questions, I would like to I would like to also to ask Hmway to start by responding to the question. Thank you. I will try to respond to the questions as much as possible. I think Moderator here also will be able to talk about NUCC. So I would like to leave some questions to Moderator as well. And that when I listen to comrade questions, the questions are very broad. And that I think if we all try and answer these questions, that will be better. So I think you asked about the role of the NUCC. I think NUCC is more like a coalition. It's a coalition, a platform that we have a coalition as well. And right now, that you also have the strike committees, and you also have CRPH and political parties. They are all working together in that as well. That we have the strike committees, and that. So they have 3 layers or three layers to that as well. The NUCC, the main duty of the NUCC is to set up policies. We set policies, and then in the first as people assembly, we validate NUCC. So that's how the NUCC NUG go. But when the NUCC carry out the task of the government, we do not actually that it cannot we understand the NUCC the NUG can also report back out as well. So we do have a weekly meeting where we discuss as well. So because our time is also limited, so we'll not be able to go into the deep discussion. But this is also during the Spring Revolution. Also, we all have to be more understanding as well, and that is also the part about the NUCC and NUG. And in your question, you also asked about the TC, Transitional Constitution. About the Transitional Constitution, now we are still developing the draft constitution. We have a working group working on it. A working group is, and then we also ensure that we are also trying also to invite all those we should do. So we have at that time we are also inviting that is as well, that some of them are also sending their representatives to discuss and consideration as well. You are concerned as well that we are also doing our best to make sure that it is not happen. Your concerns will not happen, because what we want to really want is a federal democracy as well. And that during while we are fighting, there could also be different differences as well. And that I think is disagreements are all part and parcel as well, because it's part of the nature, it's natural. I think because for many decades there has been very little discussion or negotiation among the Burma majority, that they have a military has practiced urbanization, and they have oppressed the ethnic community. So there is a major differences beyond. So that as a so we can consider is as a good implication as well. We have able to discuss time. That of course that there will be when we discuss as much as we can. So there can be disagreements. They would also take time, but we are doing what we can to be able to become that as well. and that is that where we have the transitional constitution will be a draft, and the draft will be that it will be discussed by the others as well, and this way that we can do this that we can also do the best as we can as well, and that's what I would like to discuss. Komodwe can also, I would also like to add Komodwe to continue respond to the question. Komodwe, could you? That I will not be going into details. I don't know about the details either, but what I understand is that you know, in the beginning that NUCC was first established. There was an objective. The objective of the establishing the NUCC is like I said before, because before we had when the revolution started, we have a CRPH. We all know where CRPH came from. CRPH came from the parliamentarians who were elected in the 2020 election, and that from CRPH. They form as a parliamentary committee, and that they have the legitimacy of the 2020 election and the public support. They have political legitimacy, so it has a political legitimacy, and that is true. Then according to the democratic principles, then if we have a parliament, then the parliament will form a government. And then you know, then they also carry out the duties. That's how they do. But we cannot do that. We didn't do that. And what we did was during those in the I'm talking about we as in the revolution, what the revolutionary leaders have decided they go for is to establish NUCC. We try to form NUCC. How do we try to form NUCC? We already have the CRPH, who are the parliamentarians here. But why we are doing that? Because we are doing that because if you look at the background situation of Myanmar, either for the 2020 election or that 2050 election, or that that 2000 that 10 election, that is these are all after the that 2020 2008 constitution. We are always be within the limits and the framework of the 2008, and that 2008 does not guarantee federalism that we all want. It cannot. Does not. It is the opposite to the federalism, and it also cannot do the democracy as well. So that because that is 2008 constitution. Before it was 2000 constitution also allowed the 25% of military appointed in the they also have all the what they do, they always have as the vice president. They also have a 25% of the parliamentarian, and then they also have that they control the major security related ministry as well. All these are not problematic. So all the elections that were organized at that time, that was how it was before. So it was not federal, and it's not also democracy as well. So now that we are in the time for federalism, democracy, we are talking about federalism, we're talking about the equality, we are talking about human rights, we are asking for genuine democratic forces fighting for that as well. For those we have, those who have different many years, like Aid, who have like 10 years, we have like Kenya, who have over 70 years, we have those who have been for nearly 100 years. All these they working on. If you want a genuine democracy and federalism, then we cannot. Then it is the mandate of we cannot work it out with just the mandate of the 2008 constitution. That means that we are trying to invite it as well, that we will not be able to do that. So for us to be able to deal with all the problems, as you all know, what we need to do is that we try to form a NUCC. To form the NUCC, that it's not just on that. We look at that also that people that what we are looking at is that we have different DPDF, different local defense forces, those are different forces, the revolutionary forces who are protecting their interests of their community. They have their own legitimacy as well. That that the jury legitimacy, or that comes through the election, being elected by the people, and do have the de facto what is happening on the ground, what is being exercised on the ground as well. If you look at this, and then the most of the when you see, we cannot only talk about about the de facto, because only de facto also is not also enough as well, that they do have legitimacy. They are not as well, they do. So to do that, that we tried also to form the NUCC as well, that if we look at it from the other side, what we are seeing is that in this the revolution, and that when we say that this that transitional constitution, that we're saying that it needs a common agreement as to get a common agreement, that it is important that all the stakeholders, it is important to get the agreement of all the actors as well, and that that for me that rather than basing on the part 2 of the federal democracy charter, I would say that it is important we need to understand how do the other organizations think, what are the other stakeholder things, and that I think NUCC has the opportunity to do that. For example, like ICC, I'm sure all of you know about it as well. And before, there are those like KPIC is no longer part of the NUCC, although they were there in the beginning. NUCC, the NLD is no longer part of it. AA is not also part of it. There are other reasons that they are not joining. So, for example, RCSS and other political parties, SNLD, they have their own reasons for not joining it as so either publicly or that is although closed door, like confidentially as well. We need to ask their opinion, and then through their opinion, then we also need to find a way to how do we draft a transitional constitution that it is that we also need to that rather than using what is in the federal democracy charter as a fix as well, like our comrade was asking, like it is important, will it be, does it invite other, will it be, what about other stakeholders, other actors? What we need to do, what is also good is that I think in the past of this Myanmar law until now, we also have there was a draft constitution that was developed earlier in Myanmar law for the 14 years. To what extent we can reuse that as well? And then what about the others, so forces, that other democratic forces, what do they think about it? I think we also ask about it. We need to know the opinion. If we do that with by consolidating that, it will be better, because federal democracy charter is a federal democracy charter is not does not have the participation of all of us. So if we can sort of like that while we are building a mechanism that will have to be inclusive to all the parties in Myanmar, it is important to do it in the process in an inclusive way as well. Thank you. We also have an important question. Maybe Kolio can answer that question, and that if MOD Minister Uimu and the Permanent Secretary Unai Tua as to their capacities, or to rather than to sort of like to give your analysis on their capacities, and that also to listen to the voice and the opinion of the PDF to this question. Maybe Kolio can answer this question. Please do so. And that I think as a youth also, I think you'll feel free to respond to these questions as well. I think that rather than responding directly to this question, that I would like to say that as well. I also like to I also like to I would also like to respond to you that by saying about those others, or those who are in the strike also. I'm sure that I think they also have the same questions. They want to know about those who are involved in the M struggle or the other struggles too, because most of us often what we are also seeing is is that that often rather than really doing something on the ground, we are also seeing a lot of we also have seen a lot of fighting in wars as well. And that if you look back on the history, and that most people say that in the ERO that are saying that it can be so that they are not speaking up, and that only one that they will not say something, and then only at a certain time there will be they will say something, they will share something as well, so that only one that only after the fighting is that happening as the, and that so that in the social in the what we see in the social media, what we see often see in the social media is that we often say that it's more like a retaliation, or you said this and I'll say it back. It's more like a retortingness. Well, the fighting is not over yet, and that they will be saying that the war is not over. Or when saying is that as well, that is so that so I think these are the questions that although the fighting why it's not over, they are also saying it's like a done deal. And for us, we see that for us it's hard to see that, it's hard to listen to it. I think it's important to listen to the voice of not only about the local PDF but also for the front, like that, or as a NUG, as a front of the revolution. It is important to listen to the voice of the others as well. It is also important to make a decision, and that to make the call as well, and that is important and necessary. And that for me, yes, I will say that yes, we share the opinion, but I think it is also important to listen to the voice of other, and it's also important not to just be about the talk, about the words, but also about the reality, and to wait until then the reality. So thank you. So that we also have taken a lot of time to discuss, and that I think we also have shared a lot of points as well. Then now I think as for the last speaker, I would like to invite Kodisa, and then we want to end the today's discussion as well. And that also Kodisa has also talk about it as well. And that like the question that our comrade from the PDF asked for, what will be what can you say to inspire the local PDF, and that and we also would like to know how is that can you also give us some comments on the situation of the SAC troops on the ground, as well as any words of encouragement to our local PDF as well. Thank you. So the question was like so you're also asking about what is important for them as well, and that the military, that the military seems to be solid, but they are actually there are fraction as well, that before military was sent about 200 soldiers to send to the front line, that they have to struggle to get 100. They don't even get 100. They even have the difficult to get 18. So they will be sending those they have to do everything to get 80 people due to the front line as well. That's the challenge that they have. Is they are also that is they are losing that as well in a nation, and that in terms of also the administration is they are not good as well. Logistic also is not good as well, and that if the logistic they are going to support that they get a rise to the supplies to the other. They are not doing that. They are not getting there as well, and then what they will do is that every year they get up have a logistic as well, and that and then if it is to the far away places, and then they will have weapons and the food supply as well. In the last time, they cannot normally the food supplies will be sent for the whole year round, and they can't. So what they have to do, they are not be able to fight fully as well, and that they seem to be fighting with the full logistic. They don't have that kind of support. Another thing also is that their moral also is quite low as well, and that also that people are disgusted with the soldiers. People hate soldiers, and that that is that they don't see people as human beings, and that people call it meow that so the people are being calling mahala or the other words, and people don't like it, and that now the people are calling the people as sick, as the sick way or the military dog. So in a way, that also is that really is really their moral is low, and what they are doing is they know that what they're doing is not meaningful, and that that they are not getting anything. They don't feel that is as well that and that although they may be fulfilling their duties, but they are not happy. They don't know where they are going. They are lost as well, and that they have to fight against the NUG. So it is in a way their moral is down. They are depressed. They don't have the moral, and they know that whenever if something happened, and then they could scramble easily. But however, this is the army where they control people by fear. So they are being run by fear. So it also be very difficult for them as well. It's not like a normal organization, and that because this is an organization which is controlled by fear, so they can make them do whatever they want to. So they have no choice but to contain you as well. If we push harder to cause a dissension, if we cause harder to make them to make them doubt themselves, then that can always help as well, because that will really help them. That then they won't have as many CDMs, and then they will, with the more CDM joining, they will not be even fight. They're going to fight as well. But however, on the ground, that some of the soldiers on the ground are cruel, they are inhuman, and they are atrocious. So people are disgusted with them. So that there are also feelings that people don't want to accept the CDM. So I think it's also is hard as it's not just the entire as well that if we can then manage to do that with a to an extent, and then we don't need all the military design. That if we can get 75%, that will be good. And that for our side also, we also need to build a strong chain of command as well. And that I think it is also important that when we are fighting, and that I think that that fighting is not just about pulling the trigger. I shouldn't know word, but that that should again you need to learn other skills as well. And that thank you for that sharing very clearly about the situation, also what is happening, and that I think that is also will be interesting for us to learn as well. And that and to the people who are following our talk show, and that we have gone through the first and second round, and then we also have gone at a Q&A session as well. This week topic is revolution and the role of the leadership. Under this topic, we talk about the leadership. We all talk about that the expectations. How can the people contribute to what is needed in this in the times of revolutionary leadership, and what we need to be what we need to reflect, to analyze, to strengthen a strong revolutionary force, consolidated force. And that's the focus of the today's discussion. And that the next week also that we'll have we'll be inviting more speakers and more people to talk about important ideas and concepts. Hope that today's discussion has been useful and insightful for all of you. And then we also would like to invite you once again to join us in the next week session, where we also would like to invite you to join us once again in the next topic with that to discuss with the next speakers. I would like to wish you all a very good evening, and I would like to say thank you to all the speakers for giving us their time and